Hi everyone. I want to get back to changing the lighting in this Panasonic flip clock, which I've now been using for a week or two straight. It's been working perfectly. It's not losing time. The clock function is fine. The radio works. And I replaced the backlight originally with a white straw hat LED and a little power supply to drive it, but I'm not very satisfied with the lighting quality of that. So what I did is I ordered some of these little automotive lights. These are sort of the style that GM used on their dashboard. And what I've done is I've put two in parallel here. And they're going to be driven by about 9 volts in here. And just to give you some idea of what that is, so you can try it with a 9-volt bulb. So that's going to be a fairly dim light, I think, but the voltage will probably be, I suspect, a little higher in here than off that battery. So I think this will work. I think these will be a more pleasing light to have in the background of this. And these are rated 30 milliamps at 12 volts. So at 9 volts, they're going to draw, well, I'm not sure actually, because but my guess is about 20 milliamps. They're going to dissipate less heat than the resistor is dissipating in this currently. So I'm not concerned about any heat generated by these. And of course it was designed for a bulb probably brighter than those anyway. So what I'm going to do is put a towel down, take this back apart, take out the kind of jerry-rigged circuit I've got in there at the moment. I wish that I learned that if you just wiggle these, oh, sorry, it's easier if you do it on the ends, very slightly, they come out. It's not behaving today, but they come out quite easily. But yeah, this one, well, apparently once they've been sitting on for a while, they don't come out quite as easily as before. But we'll take all the knobs off, flip it over, take the top off, and then be able to get at the bottom of the clock where the lighting is applied. And I'll turn the camera back on once I get to that stage and manage to get the knobs out. Here's the radio open. If you saw my earlier video, you'll remember this speaker is just held in by the force of the cabinet, or gravity at the moment, and there's a little rubber grommet that provides essentially spring tension on the back of the speaker. It's not my favorite, but it seems to be working. So the next thing we need to do is pull out the clock. My little bodge is underneath here. So that involves removing 4 more screws from the bottom, which is a bit difficult because I've got to hold the speaker in place while I do them. Okay, so I have removed the clock, the screws holding the clock mechanism in, and then it's possible to pull this up. And then you can see my bodge circuit in here, which, if you didn't see the earlier video, consists of an LED here, a capacitor, and hiding under here a resistor, well, the resistor's here, and a diode to create essentially a DC circuit to drive this LED. I attempted to scratch up the surface of the LED to make it work a little better. And that's that. So one of the things what I'm going to do just to start is we'll just clip this circuit off. And we're going to have to solder in some extensions on these wires because unfortunately they've been cut up to do this, but that's fine. And then we'll have to solder in the lamps, which I have misplaced here. Oh, here they are. They're right here. So these will go, we'll need to solder those together, and they'll go in place here where the original lamp went. You can see that this is discolored slightly where the original lamp was. And I'll probably put a blob of hot glue in there to hold everything in place. But we'll need some sleeving over at least one of these two sets of wires so that it doesn't risk shorting out. So let me get some wires extended here, and then we'll figure out how this is going to work. All right, so here are the lights in place. I haven't put any glue on them yet. Let's just make sure that we haven't shorted anything and that they still work. Yes, they do. So that's good. I'm going to put a very small blob of hot, no, that's not a small blob. I'm going to put a very small blob of hot glue here just to make sure they stay in position. That should be relatively easily removable just from the top there. Then the question is one of, I have hot glue stuck on my fingers, as one does, is routing these wires out of the way. They're supposed to route through here, but I don't believe they'll fit since I'm using heavier solid core wire. And then we just need to solder those onto there, and everything should be in good shape. I will use a bit of paper here to protect the display while I do my soldering, because the last thing I want is a blob of solder to fall off and damage the relatively pristine, well, relatively, it is a pristine display here. And I'll use another couple of pieces of heat shrink here to hold these wires in place as well. Okay, so I think we've got this in place. We have those reasonably nicely trimmed. I'm going to see if I can push one of these wires into here, just to, there we go. Oh, they both fit. Okay, perfect. So now we have the wires trimmed along there, coming in right on the edge. We have the two bulbs in place. We have that in place. So what I'm going to do is plug in the clock and see how it works. I'm reasonably pleased with the way this wiring has gone. That's certainly a lot better than this mess that was in there before. Let's just plug it in and see how the light looks. Okay, it's plugged in. It's a little brighter than it was with the battery, like I thought. They look pretty good. We're going to get good lighting of these, whether the alarm indicator will be easy to see or not is open to some question. I doubt it was when it was new. We can double check that if we look over here, you can see the clock motor turning away. So I'm going to button this whole thing back up and then put it back into operation. And I think that's a good replacement. And we'll see how bright they are, but I think that's going to work just fine. I have put the clock back together. I haven't heard it flip yet, but it will soon. I think this light looks much better. You will not be able to see that on camera at all. But you'll just have to take my word for it. Just a quick check, just to make sure that the radio is working.
Enough for people online to tear into her. Visit us at magicwindow.ca. It's not really magic. It's just better, smarter thinking.
There you go. Passing saying the cheese. Yeah, right.
All right, radio works. I think the clock might have flipped while I was playing with that. Actually, I think the light is much more even throughout the whole display. Oh, there it goes. There it went, just fine. So we have everything in order. I will put this back where I'd like to keep it and set it and continue using it. So here the clock is in place. next to an appropriate book. Let's see if we can wait for it to flip. There we go. One nice flip. All right, thanks.